Hello. I didn't think I'd ever do this, but I have my own opinions on certain things, and instead of talking about them in passing, I'd rather show people what I'm talking about and keep going. As such, this is a fan-made project for Warhammer. I'm relatively new to the universe, but I feel like I can still hold some insight. As the text says on screen, please support the original creator. That is necessary because if they don't get the support, they can't continue. And if you've seen any other reaction videos like I have, spoiler alert, yes, I have seen all 5 of these parts before. So my thoughts are sort of more streamlined. They're not an initial first reaction, but it also let me get my thoughts together and actually think about what I'm going to say that could offer my own input into what's going on. So, with that in mind, let's begin. And stopping already. Because I want to point something out. The Argosa uprising hasn't been mentioned to my knowledge. I could be wrong. It could be in a book somewhere. I don't know where to start reading. My knowledge comes from what is on the YouTube community and also the Reddit community. But what I want you guys to note in particular is the date they give. Millennia 39, year 482. It's not exactly 40k, because that would be Millennia 40. Almost. So, this would be 30k lore to my knowledge, which would mean somewhere after the Horus Heresy. And, if I remember my own research correctly, actually, I'll just double check, I'll just bring that here. So we do that. And we're looking for the year 482. I need to mute system sounds. I apologize. Volume mixer, mute system sounds. There we go. I apologize. That was me. That was. Don't worry, you guys are fine. Uh, Here we are. 353 to 558 M39. In that area is the Golgena consolidation? Or consolidation. I apologize. English is my first language, but you wouldn't know that just by talking to me. But yeah, that's roughly the timeline we're in, so I just thought that was interesting to point out as no one else had. So you learned something new, I guess. Let's keep going. Retributor Astartes now assists the hunt for fleeing leaders of the rebellion. We find out more about that later. And funnily enough, this is actually a bit of art that has been carefully animated in. Very well done, by the way. But, actually, I need to do this again, I apologize. Here we are. It's not a battle barge, it doesn't have the front mounted cannons. Uh, it's not a Primarch ship, it's way too small. Doesn't have the gun on the bottom, so it's not whatever that ship is. It's funny how they all have that same sort of similar design. Not entirely sure. Uh, could it just be a no, it's not just a transport. Uh, Sword class? I don't think it's a. It doesn't have the exact curvature of a sword class frigate, but Cobra. It could actually be a Cobra class destroyer, which would just explain its offenses as we see later. Yeah, I think that works. Let's go with that and let's continue. 11 seconds in the video have passed and we've already been 7 minutes in. I apologize. Oh, there we go. I wanted to pause it at this time so that way, again, the height difference. These are average size human males, roughly from 5, anywhere between 5'8" and 6'2". So we'll say 5'11". Just put it squarely in the middle. Um, and these guys are easily a head and shoulders taller than them. Maybe even half a torso more, which would put them somewhere around 7 feet to nearly 8 feet. And the Astartes creator has come out and said that they wanted these guys to be on the taller end of the spectrum, which is perfectly fine. It adds to how imposing they can be. Also, the animation quality, the camera angle seemingly on an Astartes helmet, absolutely brilliant. And you see another guards or another Imperial Navy personnel, I don't want to say crewman, is standing there, possibly standing guard over something, or just resting against the wall because his job's done. You know, they could have just left that space vacant. But I want to pay extra attention to back here because this actually has something that I want to talk about. Okay, here we see a briefing room, it looks like. You've got a very clear indication that these are basically the Special Forces squad, based on the arrows on their head of this chapter, going over what looks to be a holo map showing the asteroid field of the planet and the planet itself. So maybe the rebels are fleeing the planet and they're giving chase. Always a fun thought to think about. And we go back to the hallway. This guy. He's a little taller than the humans. This guy right here. Now, I don't want to conjecture, and I don't want to throw anything out there that is wrong. That's why I always try and double check. So, I wanted to ask you guys, Do you think this is a psyker working for them? Because going through the warp and things of that nature could put them possibly in the realm of needing a psyker to travel around, because psykers were really good navigators of the warp. Uh, that's just my own personal theory, because he's taller than them and he doesn't seem to be wearing the power armor of an Astartes. And he's still like a head or torso taller than the other guys, so he's on par with the Astartes in terms of size. So I don't know whether or not that's a captured prisoner or it's possibly something to do with uh being their navigator, being transported from their I want to say navigational chamber to, let's say, the bridge for additional briefing. And if we go full screen, I think you'll even see a cable here. I think. Do we? No, we don't. And I'm at 1080, so unless it can go higher. Oh, it can. It can go up to 1440 or 4K. Maybe. But I just found it interesting how he's a head taller than this guy, and it looks like this guy's in line with the center of his back. So possibly an Astartes modified to be more of a psyker. Always possible. I mean, they're genetically modified, and the one that created the original Primarchs was a psychic warrior. So a psyker gene is possible to develop. As such, I don't think he'd have. I think he wouldn't have a whole legion of psykers, but I think having a few psyker genes sprinkled in and they activate every couple of generations or so, that's perfectly fine. That's just me, though. Here we see blessing the weapon with the machine spirit inside. We see an inquisitorial eye and the double-headed Aquila. So, right away, religious chapter. Uh, and if we actually look, when he starts, if we actually look here, the squad's sitting down, so presumably they're being briefed through the comms in their helmets. Uh, they look like figurines, but I mean, that's kind of the point. That's why 40K, I think, made them the way they are. If I get copyright strike for this, I don't honestly care. The video's not going to be monetized anyway. So, I'm going to use whatever references I can, because I want this to be as informative for new people coming in. So, as you saw there, let me just go back and see if I can actually catch it. Probably not. I'm probably too slow, but there we go. As he's blessing the weapon is responding in some form. Because the magazine's already in. It's not an indicator of, oh, you have a magazine in. It is ready to fire. No. It's reacting to the blessing. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing, well, it's obviously a good thing for the Astartes. And there's some inscription here, it looks like. But we don't see it. And we go straight back to the hallway. And we actually see their chapter symbol, if I can pause. A skull gripped by a hand. Now, I'm not one to conjecture chapter markings and things like that. I'm not one to do that. If this is the chapter symbol, by all means. Uh, I don't know who made that, like who originally designed or had the thought of that. It's a fairly basic thing, you know? The skull gripped by a hand indicating possibly crushing force. When it comes to, I guess you could say, a total grasp on an opponent, I guess, or just showing that they like being in the thick of combat. I can't possibly conjecture. The artist of this would have to state specifically why they chose that. And as we hear, these guys weigh a bit. That thudding would not be caused by a regular human. That would be caused by heavy machinery. Which is not wrong. They weigh around... They weigh around possibly... They weigh possibly around about 800 kilograms with their armor on. That's what I'm able to figure out. So, the heavy stomping indicating heavy machinery would actually make sense. Here we see their drop ship, drop pod, drop torpedo, I guess. Getting ready to launch. As you can see, they're already opening it to the vacuumous space, and I really like the symmetrical sort of design. You know? It didn't have to be, you know, this sort of tooth design. It could have very well just been flat. You know? And maybe it could have folded outwards. It could have been something as simple as that. But they went through the addition of adding in that sort of tooth design to sort of give, I guess if you paused on this frame, sort of gives it the idea that it could be a hallway if you just put glass there. I mean, it works. And here we see the asteroid field, which possibly shows the ship's position local to the Imperial ship. And I want to see if I can pause it when they're walking in. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that again. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Possibly something here as well. Or that could just be the second one of these grips coming down. All special forces, all 8 foot tall, around 800 kilograms, with possibly the most overpowered weapon in this universe. I know, not really, it's actually quite common, but come on. It's overpowered for anything else. And they launch. I'll just have this like that for a few seconds. Just so that way the legal stuff is taken care of. And we're on to part 2. Let's begin. And again, I'm pausing right away. This right here is the Thunderhawk, it looks like. which is capable of space combat from what I'm able to figure out. And unlike normal people, actually know what it's going to do. So it's escorting the drop pod to the enemy ship, and as we see, it breaks off because when we get to the ship, it's up coming around. Because when we turn around, when the ship turns and we see the ship, it's already over here somewhere. Or it's there. It's using the asteroid field as cover, and it's going to attack from a separate direction, thus splitting the ship's fire. Because I'm pretty sure if the ship opened up with a full broadside, these two drones and the laser cannon on the top of this drop torpedo wouldn't exactly be able to cover it. And the ship would get damaged or something, and it wouldn't be as effective. So the Thunderhawk broke off to engage from another direction, draw fire away from them, and also to do some damage, as we see. As you can see, it's firing at possibly the Thunderhawk. No, it's firing at the drop torpedo, as we can see there. But then we see the Thunderhawk return fire, and there we see its shield generators activating to block the blow. Reverse thrust to slow it down, and magma cutter. I don't know that symbol, whether that's chaotic or a certain cult or even mercenary groups. I don't know. But what I do know is this is about to get a lot more fun. Let's keep going. Ah. The moment you realize who's in your ship is a moment too late, because they've seen you. Now, I let it play for a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but as we see with this guy, I like the inspiration. It looks like they took from, I want to say, Germany in World War One, because the helmets look like something I would see on the battlefield of World War One from the German side. The British obviously have their fucking kettle helmet, and the USA have theirs. But I like how it's formed around the comm device. It looks like that is, unless that's an implant. We see this soldier is 302, so there's obviously at least 301 soldiers before him. And I actually like the detail, the strap on the shoulder connecting it to the chest piece. Probably on the other side as well. Well, this one's riveted on, so I'm guessing he is a right-handed shooter. And this one allows him for more flexibility in case he needs to reload. And I hate to say it, but there's a little bit of a continuity error. We see the guys with the white stripes, or the white arrows, indicating that they're just regular special forces. Then this guy comes out, and he's got a black arrow, indicating he's the sergeant or the captain. We didn't see him in the drop torpedo, because there were 5 white arrows. There was no black arrow. So, little bit of a continuity error. I'm sorry, but I had to sort of point it out. But yeah, he's definitely seen combat. And even his bolt pistol, his machine spirit in the bolt pistol, seemingly it reflects that, I guess you could say. Also, I like how, I pause here, we see the tracer of the bolter round being fired. That's actually a really cool looking screenshot, I guess, if we could smooth out the guy in the background. because it looks like he's like mid-frame before switching. Also, that right there, that's suppressing fire. That's not just shooting to kill, if anything. Well, it is, but you're only firing what you need. Also, the bolt pistol doesn't have any ammo reader on it, as we see on the bolters later on. So, he is probably counting in his head how many rounds are left. Because they actually reload their weapons. They're not just pouches with infinite bolter rounds, which we see the effect of. Yeah, that's about right. This poor guy got shot in the abdomen. This guy got shot in the shoulder. There's a bit of a difference. You hit center mass, where there's a lot more mass to explode and feel the shockwave. It's gonna have to do more damage than when you shoot just an area where only, I guess there are two outcomes. You lose an arm or, you don't. This one, you can just have a hole in your stomach. No, he got the worst of it. He didn't even lose his arm. That's some decent quality armor, I guess. Oh no, he did. I just happened to I just happened to pause it. See, there we go. There goes his arm. I was gonna say, that's some decent quality armor. No, it's not. And we see the effect right there. I'm sorry, dude, but he, in the best case scenario for this person, he'd be alive, in incredible pain, but alive. Maybe he could become a servo skull. Maybe that's why they board this ship. I don't know. They need more servo skulls. Ooh. We see the effect that has, and we even see they miss one. Doesn't matter. These two will make sure that they hit. And I double clicked, and even that wasn't fast enough. So, as we can see, yeah, it's not pleasant. I want to see if I can find it at the exact moment here. You can see the explosion already melting parts of the helmet because of how hot, I guess you could say, the compound is. You can see the glow coming out, so he's probably lost one of his eyes. And that came from over there somewhere. We don't actually see it, which I think adds to the terror of the Astartes. And these guys, why did he turn around to return fire? Dude, just, they're not gonna stop and take cover. Just run. I like how also they work on their upper body armor, but there's no armor for their crotch or leggings. I mean, there's shin guards, sure, but there's nothing for the upper legs. The calf muscles, if you will. There's none of that, and there's not even proper facial protection. It wouldn't matter anyway, but... And we see the sergeant... Oh no, hold on. Does that mean there's 6? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, still 5. But yeah, as if we see in part 1, if I can show you again, you see the 5 arrows. You can see the second one just there if I zoom in. There we go. If I zoom in, as you can see, 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows, 4 arrows, 5 arrows. 5 members, all white. And then if we go to part 2, we go to where the captain shows himself. I got it right once. Oh, he actually got shot. He actually... There we go. The black stripe. That just appeared. So I don't know if there was a design change in part 1 to part 2. So this one is a re-upload. Because when they lost their channel, their audio got messed up. And part 2 came out on the 20th of August of 2018. So I guess that's time to say, well, I'd rather a sergeant on the mission because that makes more sense. I like how also, oh no, these guys also have the lightning trails. Huh, interesting. I thought he would, and these guys wouldn't because it's an extra sign of rank, I guess. But let's go to part 3. As you can see where I got the idea that the guy we see in part 1 down the other end of the hallway, this guy, could be a psyker. Considering if we can pause it at the right angle. This guy's forward to the camera, so he's obviously gonna look a lot bigger, but the size difference is still the same. So, maybe? Also, I'm not into the whole idea that the mask comes on, all of a sudden they grow 2 feet and automatically gain psychic powers. I think these are psychers that the masks are enhancing. Most certainly they're enhancing, but not enhancing nearly enough as we find out. And as we see here, there's an ammo counter on the bolters, and I don't know, unless they're wearing stealth suits, that's not nearly as much noise as they should be making. It should sound like, a, I guess, gunfire echoing through the halls, just them walking through. But I can understand the sound difference to emphasize how loud the bolters would be in that environment. I can understand that sound design choice. Um, Also, this type of firing style, tucking it under the shoulder, I mean, I guess that could work, but it's not advised. I don't think any military today does that. Maybe back in the day when they were just figuring it out, they might have tried, but there's a reason it's not done today. And if we see here, the laser fire, okay, laser fire hits him. And oh no, these two have laser rifles, or las rifles. Heavy auto guns, it looks like, and he's loading what looks to be a rocket launcher, and they're firing down an open hallway. My best guess, it's a militia. My best guess is it's either a militia or it's something like that. And don't mind the notification that shows up on all of these. And I'm keeping them up so that way I can refer to them in later parts, I guess. Because in part 4 and 5 I'm going to go back and forth quite a bit, I feel. So, really like this idea of a last stand with these guys, how they're just not caring about their own lives. Or maybe they can't care because the Psychers rule the ship now. It's definitely an interesting idea. And as you can see there, they all got taken out in like what, The heavy guns got taken out first. that just no. It's like you see 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds come out. He's lined up a shot and he took the shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is probably my favorite scene of this episode. He dodges, pitch black, boom. That right there is nightmare fuel. Imagine your job is to protect a ship. You've been hired and paid to do that. You don't know, you don't ask questions. So you think you're being attacked by regular brigands or hell demons. So you prepare for that. You shoot a rocket, then you see this coming towards you. I don't care who you are, you're at least wondering to yourself if these guys are even human. Spoiler alert, they are, they're just genetically modified. We've been going on for half an hour now, and we're only on part 3. Jesus. And again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Just that whole scene in and of itself. I imagine what the comms would be like. So he loads, and he starts firing. They notice it, but he stops and he goes. The sergeant stops and he's at the rear, I guess. He stops and he goes, "Don't worry, brothers, I'll take care of it." No, he sent someone else around to deal with it. Because as we see, if I can try and pause it right, he's a white stripe. So he sent someone else around to deal with it. So the sergeant was the second last in the line. Huh, interesting. Also, can I just add, this is far more terrifying. Just looking down and you just see the flash of the bolter. You wouldn't even get a chance to offer a defense verbally. Also, he's got a loader there, it looks like, which also justifies the second shot. And I also really like the design of that autocannon. I don't know if that's homebrew or what, but that is really nice. Ay ay ay. And at first, okay, when they first started wheeling it up, when all we saw was the crew, I thought they were gonna bring up a freaking howitzer. I mean, do what you can to stop the enemy, but a howitzer? As we find out later on, that's not exactly what it is. It's actually a las cannon. Or a Gatling laser. Whichever one is more accurate. I'm, again, new to Warhammer. I guess I need to keep saying it. Oof. Also, can I just add that sound design? Like, I don't even think he was shooting at anyone there. Was he? Hold on. Is that a bolter or is that a bolt pistol? I don't know. Because if that looks too small to be a bolter. Looks like he put an ammo counter on it. I guess the sergeant doesn't need it. These guys are all new. They're from the Spartan regiment. The sergeant, when he saw them, it's just like, ammo counters? Are you fucking serious? It's practical, Sarge. You're not even looking through your helmets. I don't know. Also, love this, because he was the guy, it looks like, that went around to deal with the mortar crew, so it would make sense he'd have blood on his armor. Love that. Again, I'm fanboying, even though I keep bringing up the criticisms. Yeah, that's his bolt pistol, because his bolter's there! That's his bolter! He's holding his bolt pistol, which has an ammo counter. Again, the surgeon's probably thinking, why did I bring these guys? But yeah, as we see here, here's the guy running. We see him here very briefly. He's like, oh, I didn't kill you yet. Okay. Now you're dead. I'm not even gonna give you the time of day. Also, we see a mine there. Possibly a thermite compound or something similar to get through the ceramite armor. Again, as mercenaries, I don't think they'd have what the Astartes have to deal with rogue or chaos marines. So I honestly think that it would just be a regular thermite compound that any human could theoretically get their hands on. That's just my opinion. Because these guys are so randomly equipped, they look to be mercenaries. That's just me. We see the heavy gun crew, and we see the effects of a bolter again. We see these guys run, but we don't see them again. I also love that instant reaction. It's like, they're all running. Okay, I'm gonna give chase. And that immediate reaction to seeing this over the heads of your brothers. Like, your brothers in arms are there, they're running for their lives, scared shitless. And then you just see this thing behind them. I guess I'd immediately pull the trigger too. I wouldn't want him to get too close to me either. And as we see here, it actually does cause damage. I've heard some people say that, you know, that this person is over buffing Space Marine armor. No, this guy just has incredible faith in his armor. Because, no doubt, is the surgeon? We'll see later on. Is it? Possibly? I'd have to see the shoulder. That's cool. But yeah, if that is the sergeant, he has incredible faith in his armor, possibly because he knows what it can withstand. No, no soldier wants to get shot. That's just plain and simple. But if you have that much faith in your armor that it will stop whatever it is that's coming your way, not only that, it could also be psychological warfare. Like, on the human element. You've hit this guy with your best weapon. He stood there and took it head on and still kept coming after you. That's like saying you're fighting a guy, you shoot him with a 50 BMG, he takes it to the head and still keeps walking. Like nothing happened. You'd be scared shitless, because that's the biggest caliber that you can reasonably get a hold of. And he just kept walking towards you like it's nothing. Psychological warfare, that would either get a surrender at least, or flat out compliance. At least in terms of the human element, but in Warhammer, There is no such thing as surrender. You fight to the last man. Which is honorable and admirable and all the other admirables and honorables there are. But one, he's turned off his bolter, or the machine pistol from the bolter has transferred to the bolt pistol. Either that or it's gone to sleep. One or the other, because the ammo counter is not on. But yeah, those sparks are from the ceramite. That's not from the laser. The laser is light. Really. Light and heat. Focused down to a point possibly 3 centimeters in diameter. As such, it's gonna hurt. It's possibly enough to kill any regular human. Possibly even an orc if you hit it enough times. Possibly. You still need to go over them with a flamer and stomp their head of the burnt corpse, but, you know, just in case one of the orcs was, Sparky Boy or whatever they're called. We just got an encoding overload, so I'm guessing something happened. Oh well. I also like that. You shoot with the bolt pistol, overcharge. Shoot through a blind grenade that he's thrown to knock out or temporarily disable the systems in the machine. Overcharge, possibly by holding the trigger, and let's go, and they're clean shot, clean arc. You see the trail of it. Shoo! You see the trail just whew, goes up, hits them, possibly goes through the armor, the plating, and explodes the machine. And some of the flames are blue. So I'm guessing the plasma was hot enough to create blue or white flame, as we can see. Gotta. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. Let's go back to part 3. Even though we just watched it, but that's there for that. Part 4. 47. This is probably going to be an hour long, but I'm probably going to edit it down to like 50 minutes. Part 4. The battle with the two psychers. Oh. They sense him. Which isn't exactly new. We see the stun button there in his hand. Reloading. Sergeant gives the command and off they go. Suppressing with full auto. And we see the individual bolter shells there. It looks like that's where the explosive compound is. That's the jacket. And there's the propellant. Continuous fire. The sergeant charges head in. Yeah, it was the sergeant. Okay. Hold on. Sorry I'm pausing so much, but does he have a white arrow? Okay, no, these are the two guys on the overhang. Hang on. Do they just flash between the white arrow and the black arrow? Because that's what it looks like. He's got the burn marks on him, but then again, their other guys also got shot. Oh no, he's got the blood on him. So he was the guy that took out the mortar crew, and he got shot by the other team with the las turret. Not with the las turret, with the las guns. Alright. We see the sergeant running in. He's got a burn mark there and on the helmet, which normally would imply that he's the guy that stood in the way of the las cannon. Also, again, criticizing, but they don't run like that. We see a proper Astartes run in part 5, but they don't run like that. That would be incredible. Like, okay, to do an example, put on a backpack, weigh it down to the point to where you can walk with it. Now try and run like that. It doesn't work. Or at the very least, you're expending way too much energy to maintain speed. And then slowing down, good luck slowing down by sort of planting your foot. You plant your foot, that's going to be a pivot point, and you're just going to go through with it because the weight behind you has momentum. So this, what I think Astartes do, is they do more of a march. I say think because the one who I watch who gave away that info is very controversial right now. I'm not going to say who they are because I want to protect my own channel. Disagree with them all you want. That's perfectly fine. I personally find their content enjoyable to watch. I might not agree with them on everything, but if they're the one I go to get lore on 40k and it's accurate, I don't honestly care. We can disagree and still be friends. Anyway, back to the video. He's charging again. Smite. Yep. Oh. Buddy and possibly one of the guys from the overhang came down. Oh, the speed. That is amazing. Because he goes from that to that in like half a second. I think that's mainly due to possibly having a black carapace, which communicates, which is sort of the middle communicator between the Astartes themselves and their armor. I think that's partially due to that. So that way the armor can keep moving if the Astartes is wounded. And these are incredibly weak psychics. Well, I wouldn't say incredibly weak psychics because they are able to stop and hold aloft a Space Marine. Or an Astartes, sorry. But in terms of psychic capacity, they are remarkably weak. A single psyker on a battlefield that is... Okay, let me just tell you this. The God Emperor of Mankind, a source that I trust, Kirioth. Shout out to him, by the way. Go watch him and his Why Does Warhammer Always Win video to find the source for this. The God Emperor of Mankind, probably back in his prime, I don't know the original book, made 10,000 soldiers kneel just by telling them to kneel. Basically psychic compulsion. 10,000. One person. 10,000 versus one person. You gotta imagine. Also, that looks... Hang on, is that the bolt pistol? Or was that part of the weapon? Okay, so that's the pistol there just before it gets knocked out of his hand. The hell is the port on that muzzle? It's like, you want to curve the bullet? Also, that looks way too small for the rounds we saw coming out of the bolter. Um. Uh, uh, Now, see, if you swap these around, it would make sense as to how they had these huge muzzle flashes. Because what the fuck comes out of that? 22? I guess because of the size, it looks that way, but god damn. Why do you need that big of a port for a round that big? I'm sorry. It's good, don't get me wrong. I love Astartes, but now that I'm pausing it and actually analyzing it, why do you have a rail there? Like, it's the pistol version. It more than likely is a smaller caliber, smaller diameter, smaller explosives. You don't need a grip or some sort of sighting attachment to be accurate. That's what the Stalker Bolter is for, I thought. But yeah, when the weapon gets knocked out of his hand, oh no, it's the baton. So he powered up the baton, which is probably a power weapon, to knock it out of his hand. And he got what he deserved for that. And the sergeant finishes off the other one. Hang on, is he the guy that took out the... No, he's not, because he doesn't have any marks on his armor. Interesting. Okay. And now they're heading to the vault. And if I can pause it at the right time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay, all 5 members survived. You see the 5th guy coming in there. So there's one guy coming in from here, one guy here, and another here. No doubt when these two get to where these guys are, they're stomping on their heads, because psychers are incredibly difficult to kill, and you would rather kill them when you think they're dead than wait for something else to prove you wrong. Again, fan project. 58 minutes. This is going on an hour, and we haven't even touched part 5 yet. And I've been trying to do a lot of this stuff live. Again, support them, subscribe. I really should. There we go. You guys have seen me subscribe and turn on all notifications. Alright, bit of a recap because this took 7 months. So the guy with the blood on him, he was one of the ones doing the suppressive fire. Interesting. Hold on. Are they 3 members of the Inquisitorial agents? Because I'm seeing that symbol there, and I'll full screen it for you guys. This symbol here. That doesn't mean anything, does it? This just shows how new to the series I am. Because these 3 guys all look to be wearing it. I'll play it so that way the guy in the middle can be shown. See? He's at least got the wings. I don't know if he's got the bit in the center, but he's got the wings highlighted by the monitor. And then we've got a beaky boy. Okay, I thought they were religious, but this is going to the point of obsession. But good reason. We see incense and prayer parchment for good reason. What's on the other side of the door? It's 2 orbs. Hello. You see the second orb here, by the way. Oh, it's over here. You can see my mouse. I know you can. So your eyes are drawn to this because this is more relevant. but over here's the second one. So what I think, I don't know for sure, the creator wanted this to be its own sort of xeno species, but from what I'm able to gather, based on the reactions, this resembles way too closely to the Yuvoth. And what these are, well, my best guess, sensors. This one here probably got destroyed by the Astartes if it started acting up. It was a threat that they made, and it didn't listen. So, what they did was they shot it. And they killed it. Eventually. Either that or they had the machine spirits from their bolters assault it, one way or the other. But yeah. There we go, you see the other sensors there. And as it pans down, Auto Hereticus Inquisitorial Agent. It looks like he's got the incense that the other Space Marine guy was using, but he's added more to it. He looks to be interfacing with it while deep in a prayer. Now, normally, if it was Necron tech of some kind, it's normally dormant. And their artifacts, to my knowledge, are quite aggressive. So maybe he's monitoring it for that aggressive change if it was Necron, but it doesn't look to be Necron. It's not Catan because they absolutely hate anything to do with Chaos, and we'll find out. Well, we won't find out why they hate Chaos, but we'll find out that this is indeed something to do with the warp, and in such something to do with Chaos. If the markings on the guy's mask didn't already show that in part 4. Here we are. I'll have that open. It looks like some of them are Nordic. Like that's the first inspiration I got. If I full screen this, and well, hold on, I'll go back a bit because I'm going to increase the quality to 4K. There we go. Okay, so this is 4K now. The thing that strikes me as Nordic is mainly the runes on the nose. The rest I could not tell you. Also, we see regular skin there, so this isn't petrification of some kind. This is just a mask. We also see that, like, they're channeling the warp in their eyes. Very nice. Very nice touch. But again, deep in prayer. Let's continue. Chapter commander, it looks like, and his lieutenant, or right-hand man, I guess, and another Astartes member. And of course, cracked eyelid of the sergeant. A thin layer of ice. Okay. Fuming exhaust packs. We're definitely going into the warp, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, men of gold. It's a good thing the Astartes came in when they did. I doubt this 5-man squad could deal with this thing if it was fully active. Yeah, I know. They probably could, but I mean, if that was the, I guess, to save on animation time. Now I really want to see that. God damn it. I want to see them fight this thing. Also, we see more masks in the background. No ruins on the Men of Gold. Interesting. Ooh. Yep. Thin layer of mist or frost. It's definitely the warp. Also, love the shot composition here. Got the 5 Astartes walking pretty much in uniform. Ooh. Hello. I'm gonna raise the volume a little bit. Astartes. I've heard some people say they hear Catan. That's probably the only place I've heard it. Catan. But it's more like Pata. Pata. Like, really? Pata. You have your chance to sound intimidating. So what do you say? Pata. I mean, I get it. It's hard to come up with some sort of demonic tongue, but come on. Pata. I don't know. Susan? The fuck? What the hell do you want with Susan? It's either saying Susan or Dusan. That's what I'm getting from it. And we see the sergeant. Sergeant just don't give a fuck. Where's the Astartes with the blood on him? That's what I want to know. It's not him. He's probably the engineer. Oh, crap. He probably got hit with his own bolter round. To see that much damage to the arm. Or to the pauldron. Jesus Christ. Okay, not him. Not him. Not him. Not him. That's the sergeant. So the sergeant put his in last. So it was probably the guy where his head was down. And we couldn't see it. I'm trying to keep continuity here. Okay, so he's interfacing indirectly with it. That's interesting. And as we can see, the sensors are activating now because there's a direct connection established. Oh. I'll be quiet. I like the echo they added, but what I'm thinking they're saying, or actually what I know they're saying because of the AMA that the Astartes creator did, who is here? I have failed, brother. We have all failed. The Astartes deny our touch. You must return. Break your seal. Impossible. We'll never survive. You must take them. Possibly including the squad, either that or the entire ship. Because again, we don't know which ball is speaking at which time. This guy could be interfacing with the one that's in front of him, but he could be picking up, well, he's picking up the other one on the other ship. So possibly they're talking about taking over this ship as well? Because maybe that one's the one that failed? Who knows? It's hard to imply. Now, this I have a hard time hearing. Because I think he says send for them immediately. I think. And there we go. We see the proper Astartes run there. I'll slow it down. He turns. Go. And he's gone. He pivots on that leg and pushes. That is how it should be done. Oh, he took his concentration off, and he paid the price. He took his concentration off of this thing. And he's trying to fight it, and it sends a psychic shockwave through the device he's interfacing with, which is interfacing with it, overloads that, continues its way into the inquisitorial agent. So maybe it's the sphere on the ship saying to this, you need to take them anyway, no matter what. Love how the cape's moving. I can't hear anything other than the chanting. Jinto Kurise. Okay. Corruption. Interesting. The reason I say corruption is with the way everything is in 40k, I've heard there are things that like people flaying you atom by atom. Having your skull or your soul ripped from your body, that's kind of the nicest way to do it, and it's not exactly the most intimidating thing in the world. So, possibly corruption. Ooh, there go your psychic defenses, and just to be sure. Just to be sure. Always be sure, because you see this. Hold on. That facial design is good, even though it's basically through a glass. Like, I can still see the reflection of the Astartes before you see his hand come in. Ah, that's good. So, what I'm guessing is the sphere didn't really take him over, more like tore open his psychic defenses to the warp. In that first shock that we saw, like this. If I can find this. Okay, 456 is where I am. So it runs, goes back to praying. That. Because it blows the sensors out and travels down the line through the machine that he's interfacing with it and into him. So I'm thinking he just tore open the guy's psychic defenses. As such, it's an open buffet, basically, for any sort of warp entity to come in and feast. And that's what they tried to do, only to be met by the appropriate response. The radio message comes through, and it continues to chant. Hello, Yuval, how are you? Oh no, magnets, our only weakness. Did we only see 4 thuds there? Including the sergeant? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we did. There's a 5-man team and we only saw 4 thuds. So, we know all 5 of them went through, but we only saw 4 of them get stuck to the ball. Maybe one of them wore the new armor that wasn't magnetized? Ooh, ow. Good try, but not very effective. Too many hit points. Oh, those finger twitches are not exactly pleasant to imagine. And we're looking through the eyes of the sergeant right now, it looks like. Oh, hello, Yuval. How are you? Now, I don't know if that was their representation of the warp, but as we can see, there are various other entities there. As we can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all in, and it gets attacked by something using a shark hunting tactic coming from below. And we see teleportation. Also, I guess you could say because of the heat of the plasma, this ain't bleeding anymore. I don't think it even shed blood in the first place. But I have a reasonable explanation as to why he coughs up blood here. It's not because of the arm. The Space Marine can survive having their legs chopped off and still find a way to kill you. Possibly with the jump pack. But... oh, I didn't realize that changed all of them to be 4K. Okay, interesting. But... what I think happened is... when he was in the warp, his arm was exposed. Including the muscles, the bone, and the various different arteries or blood vessels. I feel like if this series continued into part 6, 7, 8, possibly even part 10, you could play a storyline where he's possessed. Because I hate bringing up this movie, but the Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine animated movie did show something similar, and it showed that they could take human form, and that is canon in the lore. So, have him be taken over by a demon, let's say in part 7, like he finally realizes what's happening, and he tries to get the squad to carry out the mission in order of the Inquisition, or at the very least he will do it himself. That type of story is dark, but it fits in perfectly with 40k. But the reason I think he vomits up blood is because he was exposed to the warp directly. Your mere, like his elbow basically. If you were to cut your arm off at the elbow, and then put that in a freezer full of demons, let's say, that is essentially what he did. So, it would be possible that he's feeling the basically nauseatic shock, I guess, from not only the teleportation, but being exposed to the warp basically without his armor. It's a good enough explanation, in my book. I could be wrong, but that's what I'd like to think with headcanon. Ooh, long service studs. Also, facial animation, A plus. It's I like the bags under his eyes for one. It just shows how very little sleep they get constantly being on the move. But what it also shows is the 3 service studs right here. Gold, I want to say, considering this guy's a sergeant, gold is for making sergeant. I want to say that. And the 2 silver studs are possibly 50 years. So he served at least 100 years with his chapter, made the rank as sergeant, and this was one of his missions, I guess. There you go. Walk it off. He's got his close combat weaponry, because that's all he could use. He couldn't use 2 hands anymore. And oh, you see that? That little tiny dot? You see it there as well. Because these are all bare pillars, except for this one and this one as of right now. Oh. This thing teleported the whole squad here. Also, that is a really ominous looking image. We know he's 8 foot tall. He's standing on a pillar, possibly 120 meters tall. And then there's this. All of this. We see sand. We see a golden sun. Which puts off the idea that this might be Earth. Earth is yellow, sure. But not like this. Even, I think, in desert areas, the sun's not pure blinding golden yellow. It's more of a whitish yellow, like on the lighter side. It's not as dark. So I want to say this is some alien desert planet. Alright, so okay. Continuing with the idea, it just means that I think this is an alien desert planet. And, yeah. I'm more interested in this chapter because it looks like it's going to be a very, I hate saying the word right now, but very Chinese based chapter. Either that or they believe in an Ouroboros. We see what looks to be, I want to say they're called the skeletal hand. By all means, I will show this. So yeah, this guy's active, very active. He took a bit of a break, which he's allowed to do. And I can't continue reading because I need to pay for it. But definitely consider supporting this guy. Yeah, that's all. Till next time.